Good morning once again. So this is a continuation of what we started discussing last March 22. And this is all about data visualization in R using the package ggplot2. So I hope you have your R Markdown files ready. I hope you have required or called the packages that we need for, for today. So by way of review, we said Grammar of Graphics was developed by Leyland Wilkinson in 2005. And it's all about rules as far as uh, creating plots, graphs is concerned. So the framework here, the rules of grammar here is that you identify three main components of your plot. You have your data, and then you have your mapping, aesthetic mapping, and then you have your geom, your plot itself. So we discussed that just like in any language, guys, kailangan may rules, no, ng yung grammar of graphics. So we said that these are the three main components, but we can also add other components. In this course, we're going to look at the basics, the 5 named graphs, but we're going to do advanced also, some intermediate form of ggplot2, so that you'll see the power behind ggplot2. So quickly now, by way of review, I hope you have downloaded the flights package, the flights data set coming from the NYC Flights 13 package. So last time we looked at, we said that it's also important to do the summary statistics of your data. Summary statistics plus data visualization, these are potent tools in order for us to better understand the behavior of our data. And we looked at this chunks of code, the glimpse. I like glimpse because it tells us it's similar to structure, but mas ano nga lang siya, medyo mas maayos, no? Okay. This is it gives us the same information as summary. Sorry, not the summary, but the structure. I mean, there, the structure. Okay. Same information, only that for me, I find the glimpse function a lot better, better in format. Okay, so scheme also from scheme R gives us a pretty decent and pretty good descriptive statistics output. We looked at this last time. Okay, it summarizes our data into its data type. So for example, this one, it says that our data frame, our data has 19 different variables, 4 of which are character, 14 are numeric, and 1 is date and time. And it even gives us, okay, let me expand the column a bit and then rerun this. So that okay, so it fits here. It gives us a histogram of the numerical variables. Okay, it gives you just a hint of the shape of the data. Okay, then, so last time also we learned how to make use of the pipe operator. Okay, this is from, originally this is actually from the package magrittr. Okay, there's a package called magrittr, and this is where the pipe operator introduce the pipe operator. This is where the pipe operator was initially introduced. which dplyr also uses. Okay, so we said that the advantage of using a pipe operator is that it reads our process from left to right, which is how we read, which is how we do things. Unlike, for example, if we're subsetting a particular data, we use the brackets, right? And sometimes in other codes, we look from center and then go to the outer, which is not really how we think. Okay, so there's really an advantage in using the pipe operator. So in this case, we're creating an object called Alaska Flights, okay? And then we were using the flights data set and then filter, and what we filter is only the carrier. Okay, so let's also generate this object, Alaska Flights. Okay, so, and then we move on. The first type of plot that we generated was a scatter plot. By the way, the shortcut for the pipe operator is Control Shift M. Okay, so let me just, and for Mac I think it's Command, right? Command plus Shift plus M. Command plus Shift plus M for Mac. Okay, when do we use scatter plots? We use scatter plots when we're dealing with two numerical variables and we'd like to determine the relationship between them. So is there a positive relationship between these two variables, which means that they move in the same direction? When one increases, the other also increases. Or is there a negative relationship between them so that when one increases, the other decreases, okay, and vice versa? Okay, so it's used to plot bivariate plots. Bivariate means two variables. Okay, so we had this last time. Very quickly, guys. Let's run this very quickly. So the code, the function is ggplot, and the syntax is we first identify the data and then the mapping. Okay. When we run this, we said that there will be no plot yet because it still lacks the component, the geom component. In the mapping, what we identify here are the coordinates, what will go to the x-axis, to the y-axis. It also, we can put here also the color, the shape, the size, okay, of our object. Okay, and we said that it's just the same as this line of code. Okay, and also I forgot also to tell you that this is also the same as, it's also the same as, let's see, it's also the same as this one. Okay, we remove the x and y. Okay, if we remove the x and y, R will automatically know that the first variable here is your x and the second variable is y. So these three codes will give us the same result. So it's a blank canvas. So let me just run this. It's a blank canvas where you have your coordinate system here. You have your y-axis and your x-axis. And in order to complete this plot, you have to include the geom component. Okay, so we're very quickly just reviewing this. Okay, so let's run this. Okay, we did this last time. This is a geom point. Okay, this is a scatter plot of arrival delay and departure delay. Okay, and then we studied this. And then we said that we change the plot by changing the geom. Okay, if we change the geom, the first one was geom point above. And if we use the geom smooth, it will be a totally different plot. Okay, we won't look yet into the specifics of this plot, but what my intention here was to by changing the to show that by changing the geom, the plot will change. Okay, so and then we looked at overplotting. Overplotting happens when the data points uh, are on the same place, so they are drawn on top of each other. Okay, so if you notice that in this point, okay, the concentration seems to be uh, at this point where the flights either arrived on time or were departed ahead of time and thus arrived ahead of time. Okay, and we said that in order for us to see the plots better as to the concentration of the plots, as to the distribution, we can make use of alpha. Okay, alpha as a transparency. So, for example, if you use the same chunk of code where we identify the data, the mapping, same geopoint, but we include alpha of 0.05. Okay, so it generates this plot. So very uh, translucent. Okay, and we can adjust this zero point 0.1, for example. Okay, the higher the alpha, okay, an alpha of 1 will just be the same. Okay. Or we can make use of the jitter, guys, but the jitter will just shake or nudge your data a bit. And we can change the dimensions of the jitter. We did this last time. Okay. The higher the width and the height means that they're more separated and they'll be really far away from the quote unquote truth. And then we can combine the jitter with the alpha. Okay. So like this. So you notice that the data moved a bit. There is now concentration of the data be greater than 0, whereas the original was really just concentrated on below 0. Okay, any questions about this so far, guys? So far clear? Pakichat nga, guys, kung clear so far. Okay, good. All right. Did we start with line graphs last time? Did we start with line graphs last time? Yung 5 NG number 2 natin? Okay, sige, good. So we haven't started with the line graphs. Okay, so what are line graphs? And when do we use them? Line graphs are used when your data has a natural sequencing. Kunyari, date. So if you have a data that's based on date, January 1, January 2, January 3, so this is a data that's based on sequencing of time. So if we have sequencing of time, then it's best to use a line graph. It's good to use a line graph. In our first data, departure delay and arrival delay, uh, well, actually, departure delay, we could have plotted also departure delay and arrival delay as the variables do not actually present a time series. But if we have used here the times, let's say that the data for, okay, for flights, guys, what variable here will show us the time series? Is it the year? Anong data ba dito ang magpapakita sa atin ng time series? Time R, yes, correct. No? Yung time R, kasi may year, may month, may day, at saka may oras. No? So makikita natin ito yung sequencing niya. Okay? Yung sequencing niya, 5 o'clock, and then 6, and then 7, etc. Okay, Okay, so let's go back. Okay, here we're making use of the weather. Let's make use of the weather. Where does the weather data set come from, guys? Saan nanggaling yung weather natin, na data set? This is coming also from NYC Flights 13. So let's run this. Okay, let's access this data. Okay, so itong weather natin, guys, ang laman niya, it's the origin, the year, the month, the day, temperature, I think this is dew point, maybe humidity, wind direction, wind speed, precipitation, pressure, visibility, and then time R, no? Time R. So this is a data that gives us the sequencing. Okay, my year, my month, my day. Okay, and then we have my ano pa, my R. Okay, so let's work on our. Okay, let's tingnan natin structure niya. Okay, may mga character, may integer, may numeric, and then may date and time tayo, no? Ito, date and time. Okay, so let's do this. Now, dplyr allows us to filter several parameters, no? In this case, sabi, let's create an object called early January weather. Okay, and it's coming from the weather data frame. And then we filter. The origin should only be Newark, and okay, the month should be equal to January, and the day is less than or equal to 15. So in other words, ano to? January 1 up to 15 lang. Ang isasama lang yan, lahat ng weather, dun sa weather, okay, dito, lahat lang na nasa Newark, January hanggang 15. Kasi lahat to, guys, if we get everything hanggang December 30 to, no? 26,115 observations. Okay, so let's run this. Include na nating head at saka tail para makita natin. The head and the tail function, guys, allows us to check our data, no? It's a good check for our data. Okay, so take a look at this. Finilter natin si origin to only include EWR. Okay, and month is equal to January, and day is only up to 15. So yung tail natin, yung last 6, okay, EWR, month, January pa rin, and day 15. So we see that this is correct, no? Okay, so we were able to successfully filter. Now take note, di ba yung end natin, it's a required condition, no? Yung end and end. So here we were able to filter, create an object as a subset of weather, and then we filtered this. This object came from a filter of these 3 conditions. Okay, and take note, guys, that you can also use instead of using and, you can just use comma. Comma here will be a replacement for and. Personally, I prefer using and para mas clear, no? Mas clear kasi kung nakikita natin to kaysa dito lang. But if you try this, guys, it will give us the same answer. Here I differentiated it by putting 1 here. Okay, so you may sige, run na rin natin. So we have here early January 1. Okay. Oops, bakit? Something's wrong here. Saan ako nagkamali dito? Tama naman, guys, diba? origin EWR month is equal to 1, day is equal to 1 up to 15. So bakit 24 observations lang to? Strange. Can you try to decipher, guys, what's wrong here? Kasi yung early January weather natin, there are 358 observations. Pero itong early January weather one natin, only 24. The comma here is supposed to be the same as end. Let me check. 24 entries lang. Okay, may tanong lang dito, bakit daw walang weather? You have to access first yung weather, no? Ito, dapat, did you run this already, yung data, tsaka yung view weather? Dapat mag-a-appear na yung weather dito sa object. Kasi kung wala pa siya, talagang mag-error kasi you're accessing yung weather data frame pero wala siyang di ba? Wala siyang laman. Hindi pa siya na-access. Pero ito is equal to 1 up to 15, no? So 1 up to 15 is the same as greater than or equal to 15. Sorry, Carl, ano yung, hindi ko nakuha yung question. When I run the data, whether yan po yung lumalabas. Ano yung lumalabas? Whether not found. Okay. Na-require mo na ba yung yung NYC flights? Yung weather na data frame, okay, may question dito guys, bakit daw hindi lumalabas yung data weather? You have to run this first, no? Kasi yung data weather that came from NYC flights. Okay, baka Carl, na-run mo na ba to? Yung library. Okay, you have to run this first. Okay, bago mo ma-access yung weather. Kasi pag hindi yung pa require yung okay, good. Okay, thank you for those questions. Okay, now help me guys. Help me kasi dapat pareho lang to, no? Saan ba ako nagkamali dito? Bakit nag-yellow siya? Origin, tama naman. So weather, tama, tama naman spelling. Tsaka na-generate na natin to eh. Okay. Same lang po na 24 pag 1 to 15 and equal to 15. Okay, tingnan natin tingnan ko ulit to. 1. Okay, 1, 1, 1. Wait. Kasi ito marami siyang instance ng January 1 pero ito dalawa lang. Okay. Let's decipher what's happening here. Okay, dalihatin ako lang to So, ang sabi ni Kale dito, same lang po na 24 observations pag is equal to 1, 15 and equal to 15. Okay, let's see. Tingnan natin yung code natin Day is equal to 1 to 15. Palitan nga natin to, tingnan natin what happens if this is less than or equal to. Palagay ko tama ito. Okay. Check. 190 observations. Okay, thank you, Kale. No? So sabi ni Kale, sinubukan niya to, kaso ang number of observations lang 190 190 lang. Okay. Month. Kasi guys, yung end, pwedeng i-replace ng comma yan eh. Okay, sige, tingnan natin ha. I tried po 1 to 15 per 1 instead of 358. So, di ko po alam. Okay. Thank you, Kale. All right. It's supposed to be the same. Experiment nga natin guys, sino natin to end to. No? So 190 pa rin. No? Ito naman, pagawin natin equal to 1 up to 15. Let's see what happened. What happens here? What will happen here, guys? Day is equal to 1 to 15. Early January weather. 24 na lang, no? Okay, so apparently something's hindi niya na ano tong 1 to 15, ano? Kasi naging 24 na lang eh. Okay, pero ang gusto talaga natin yung ano, yung 1 hanggang 15. Okay. So, at the moment guys, medyo hindi ko alam kung bakit naging ganun yung syntax, ano? Okay, sabi naman ni Jaylene, if gagawin po na less than or equal to 15 yung line 240, okay, magiging okay. Oo. So, okay, apparently guys, something's medyo nagkakaroon. I have to check guys kung anong nangyayari kung is equal to, parehong is equal to 1 to 15. Okay? So, hindi, yung result nito kasi 24, that's not what we want. Okay? Okay, so explore muna lang muna natin na kasi baka kainin yung oras natin. Pag ginawa natong is equal to, double equal to 1 hanggang 15, okay, iba yung nangyayari, iba yung nagiging output. Pero, how about this? Kung 1, so less than, oops, mali. Less than 15 dapat to. Less than 15, less than or equal to 15. So let me run this again, 358. Pero pag ano naman, pag less than, pag comma na less than or equal to 15, ayun, pareho na, no? 358. So ang medyo, siguro aralin natin kung bakit naiiba siya kung double equal to, no? Kaysa dun sa less than or equal to. Yeah, oo. Thank you, Jaylin. So ginawa ko rin na less than or equal to 15, comma, 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 and then you get the same result, no? You get the same result if it's less than or equal to 15. Okay? Guys, sandali lang ha. Excuse me, sandali lang. Alright. So apparently guys, medyo tricky itong syntax kapag double is equal to then 1 to 15. Apparently hindi siya pareho dun sa ano, sa buti na lang guys, accidentally na nagkamali ako dito, no? Na ginawa akong is equal to then 1 to 15. So good kasi I'm noting that and I'll try to see why there's a difference between yung less than or equal to 15 at saka yung double equal to 1 up to 15. Okay? So sige, let's continue. So ito clear sa atin na yung end, tsaka comma, pareho lang yung result niyan. However, ako personally, I prefer yung end, no? Para mas clear sa akin na ano, nagsisend ng signal to na dapat both conditions are needed, are required. Okay, so may question tayo dito, no? If you look at the flights daw, why does the time R variable, the last column, uniquely identify the R of the measurement, whereas the R variable does not? So, ito, sa flights, asan na yung R dito? So, ito, time R, no? Ito yung R5 lang. Okay. So, what's the answer there, guys? Ang tanong, why does the time R variable uniquely identify the R of the measurement, whereas the R variable does not? Well, simply because, guys, to uniquely identify the time R, kailangan kasi ng yung 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 year, kailangan to year, month, day, at saka time para unique siya, no? Kasi ito R lang, kasi yung flights natin. Weather ba? Ayan. R lang to R. Kasi sa isang araw, 24 hours, di ba? So it can be 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Okay? So hindi complete yung information kasi uh, by 24 lang yan. Samantalang ito, guys, it tells us kung anong taon, kung anong month, kung anong day, at saka kung anong hour. So this is the unique identifier. This is not a unique identifier. Okay, clear yun, guys? Yung answer to that question? Is that clear? Okay, good. Okay. So, guys, patient lang tayo na basic pa lang inaano natin But later on, as we move on, makikita nyo yung power talaga ng ggplot 2 na ang dami magagawa niya. And I'd like to encourage you, by the way, to view videos, look at references. Ang dami kasi matututunan talaga sa ggplot 2. Once you get the hang of this, guys, magiging na to, parang part of your lalo na sa field natin, sa finance. No? Kailangan natin yung plotting, data visualization. Okay, so going back, now we can plot. Time R, guys, is a variable that sequence. No? Sequence to, may sequencing to. So let's plot yung temperature. So weather, no? So we have temperature, ito, temperature, and then the time R. Pag ganyan, pag pinaplot natin dalawang numerical variables, one in particular has sequencing, then it's best to make use not of G yung point, not of a scatter plot, but rather, ang gagamitin natin is a geom line. Okay, so let's run this. And so we have this, no? So this is a geom line. Okay, kita nyo yung sequencing, no? Yung may mga days na pababa siya, na low yung temperature. Tapos since this is for the whole, naglagay ba tayo ng ano? January lang pala to, no? Akala ko ginamit natin na data yung yung weather itself, no? Early January lang to. So January 1 up to 15. So we see here that yung January 1, 2, 3, yung early January medyo mababa yung temperature. Tapos dito sa January 14, around January 14, okay, January 14, tapos siguro noon time to maybe, no? Medyo tumaas siya, no? Now let's see. Tingnan natin, guys, i-plot nga natin, idagdag na rin natin dito yung Let's run. Let's insert. Tingnan naman natin, guys, kung ang gagamitin natin yung weather mismo, no? Yung whole weather. So for the whole data frame, yung January 1 up to December 31 ng 2013, tingnan natin how this plots out. No? Of course, it will be the whole year. Okay, so medyo ang noisy niya, no? But generally, makikita natin, guys, sa January, medyo mababa yung temperature. And then, medyo sa July, di ba? Sa July, medyo mataas on the average. Then, mababa na naman sa December. Alright, so this is the time series plot naman for the whole weather. Okay, quite different. Yung January kasi, isang lang siya, 358 observations. No? Okay, question, guys, why should line graphs be avoided when there is not a clear ordering? Why? Okay, tingnan natin to in order to answer that, siguro i-plot natin yung ano, tingnan natin yung ano yung arrival delay at saka departure delay. Let's copy this. Ito, guys. Let's copy this. Let's see what happens. Okay. So, dito sa data natin, guys, yung dalawang variables natin, arrival delay at saka departure delay, they're just continuous variables, no? They have numerical values, pero hindi naman sila time series. Okay, wala naman time dito, no? So let's plot this and see what happens. So what do you think of that, guys? Any comment about this? Departure delay and arrival delay. So did it make any sense in using geom line here? Any guess? Kasi sequential ba tong points na to? Were they sequential points? Oh, yes, not really, no? Kasi ang ginawa lang dyan, okay, just to illustrate, no? So, tingnan natin tong flights para sigurado lang maintindihan natin. Ito, kunyari, departure delay, arrival delay. So, ang gagawin niya, ipa-plot si 2, tapos si 11. Naka-plot siyang ganun. Tapos si 4, at saka si 20. So, different points yan, di ba? Ipa-plot natin to different points siya. So, there's no really sequencing there dun sa arrival delay at saka sa departure delay. It does not really tell us of time. No? Random points lang naman yan eh. Pag prinat natin, points lang yan. Unlike this one, guys, na talaga may sequence yan. Okay, plotted with temperature, may temperature ba dito? Wala, nasa weather siya. So ito, this one, sa x-axis, tapos temperature sa y-axis. So ang susunod, itong 2 o'clock, no? Tapos 39.02. So you see the point, guys. When we plot time R, may sequencing yan. But when we plot yung arrival delay at saka departure delay, walang sequencing yon. So no need to make use of, there's no point in using the geom line for that if there's no sequencing. Okay, why are line graphs frequently used when time is the explanatory variable on the x-axis? As described, guys, line graphs kung may sequencing yung data. Okay, para makikita natin yung pagkakasunod-sunod ng data natin. Okay, now, are there other variables we can make use of dun sa ano natin, sa early January? Pwede nating magamit siguro yung humidity, no? Kasi humidity nagbabago yan over ano eh. Depende sa oras. Aside from temperature, siguro yung dew point din. Siguro ito yung or yung wind speed. Siguro yung wind speed hindi masyado, no? Kasi random to eh. Ang humidity, guys, yung humidity siguro a function yan of yung time, no? So here we plot humidity dito. Okay, may nakalagay na ba na code sa inyo dito, guys, sa 281? Hello? Do you have a code here? Okay. Dapat blanco to eh. No? Okay. Siguro when I use this in a class, na sinagutan namin tapos hindi ko na natanggal. Anyway, so let's plot humidity kasi we'd like to see how humidity changes over time. No? Okay. So, tingnan natin to. It would be interesting to know kailan to matataas na points na to. Okay. Ano ba sila kapag yung humidity ito, no, matataas ito, especially this one, okay, on a particular day, and then, kasi day and hour to time hour to, no? Okay, so may mga points na mababa yung humidity, okay, may mga points naman na medyo mataas siya. But again, guys, this is okay to use geom line here because sequential tong data na to. So nakikita natin yung progression niya, tumataas, bumababa. So depende rin talaga sa no, weather patterns. Okay, any questions so far, guys? Clear? Sige, clear ba? Paki-chat nga, guys, kung clear tayo. Okay, thank you. Alright, quick review, guys. So far, dalawa yung tinitingnan natin na geom point, ano? Geom object. Okay, thank you. Yung una, yung scatter, no? Diba? Kailan natin ginagamit yung scatter plot, guys? When do we use a scatter plot? When you have two numerical variables, no? Pag numerical variables yan, we want to establish the relationship between them, then we use a scatter plot. So ang ano natin dyan, geom point. Tapos pag may sequencing naman, ang ginagamit natin yung geom line. Okay? So we have geom line. Alright. Tanggalin ko muna to. Okay. Let me remove this first. Okay, now we go to another object, which are histograms. Okay. Ito, this is also a popular geometric object to use. And ginagamit natin to, guys, pag isang variable lang. Okay? Isang numerical variable. Okay, so you see the distinction, guys, between between when to use a scatter plot, when to use a line, and when to use a histogram. So far, yung mga tinignan natin, guys, these are used for numerical variables. Pag dalawa, pwedeng either geom point or geom line. The distinction being, pag geom line, we have sequencing, no? Yung pagkakasunod-sunod ng data. Okay. Now, kapag single numerical variable lang, ang ginagamit na plot natin dyan are histograms. And they are visualizations to plot the distribution of your variable. Okay, for example, tingnan natin yung temperature. So weather, temperature, no? Numeric to, double. So, if you look at the, mag-summary tayo dito. Tingnan natin. Sinulat ko na ba? Ito na. Summary. I was supposed to write, nasulat ko na pala to. Summary ng temperature. Ano ibig sabihin ng dollar dito, guys? Please. What's the meaning of dollar there? Saan ginagamit yung dollar, guys? For okay, subsetting, no? Isa subset natin. So, yung specific, yung specific variable. Sorry, mali. hindi subset, but just identifying the specific variable. So ito yung data set, data frame, dollar temperature. So it tells us to get the summary of your specific variable temp. So let's run this. Okay, so based on this information, the minimum is 10.94 degrees. The maximum is 100.04 Fahrenheit to, guys. So otherwise, kung centigrade to, boiling point na to. No? And there's one missing value. Smallest natin, 10.94 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, ano yung center natin, guys? Center natin around 55 point something, ano? By virtue of the median. Yan yung 55.4, yung pinaka-center natin. Okay, and then, how do the values spread out? Medyo symmetric ba siya? Guys, medyo symmetric ba itong si ano natin? Any guess, guys? Kung symmetric ba yung ano natin, yung distribution natin? Okay, medyo. Bakit kaya medyo siya? No? Bakit medyo siya, guys? Kasi, di ba, how do we know, guys, if a variable is, if a particular data is symmetric? Pag yung median and the mean are the same. If the mean and the median are the same, then you have a symmetric data. Ito medyo malapit, no? So, yeah, close naman yung, correct, Kale, thank you, tama. Close naman yung median at saka mean natin. Kaya, masasabi natin na siguro medyo symmetrical siya. Pero it's best, of course, to plot it, no? Okay, a histogram is a plot that visualizes the distribution of your numerical value. Okay, so let's do this. Again, ggplot. So medyo sanay na kayo, guys, ano natin, data is equal to weather, and we know that we can dispense with this. Pwede natin tanggalin itong data. Pwede natin itong tanggalin yung mapping. Okay. Okay. And then, I'm going to ask you one thing first. Let's run this first. No? Okay. So ito yung distribution niya. Histogram. Okay. As you can see, medyo symmetric naman siya, no? Kasi naka-base yun, guys, sa tails, no? Sa tails. Halos wala naman mga long tails sa left and sa right. So there's a bit of symmetry here. Okay. Hindi nga lang siya, of course, perfectly symmetrical. Hindi nga lang siya normally distributed. But there's symmetry in the sense that walang masyado mga long tails on either side. Okay? Of course, ito yung basic plot, guys. Basic plot ng histogram to. We can improve on this. Marami pa tayong layers na pwedeng ilagay dyan. Okay, tapos may nakalagay na message dito, no? Anong nakalagay na message yan? Anong ibig sabihin yan, guys? May remove ng one row kasi nga, 'di ba, may may NA eh. May isang not applicable dito. So remove niya 'yan. Tapos what are bins? What are bins, guys? Yung grouping ito. Ayun, ang default ni R, nagta-30 bins siya. So if you count the groupings here, these are bins. Okay. Okay, what happens, guys, if I remove yung X dito? Mababasa pa rin ba ni ano? Di ba alam natin na kapag tanggalin natin yung X, anong mangyayari? X and Y, anong mangyayari? Okay lang yon kasi alam naman ni R na yung first dyan is X and the second is R. Okay, automatic. Correct. So if we plot this, nabasa pa rin niya, no? Kasi yung una, after a static action, What if, pag ganyan, ano ibig sabihin ng ganyan, guys? Ilan nga natin yan? Ano nangyari? Okay. So, prinat niya yung temperature sa Y. Bakit? Kasi binahan ko natin to, and again, sabi natin na babasahin muna yung una as X, and then pangalawa as Y. Okay? So, I hope that's clear, guys. Pero ilagay lang natin complete. Okay? X is equal to 10. Okay. Any questions? Clear so far? Okay, correct, no? Walang X value or walang X value pero merong Y. So yung temperature napunta siya sa Y-axis, bali naging parang horizontal yung pag-plot. Okay, what are frequent and infrequent values? Ito. Okay, so itong question na to. What are frequent and infrequent values? So saan natin maaano yan? Masasagot. How do we answer that, guys? What are frequent and infrequent values? Okay, makikita natin sa histogram yan, no? Take note that in the histogram, count ang tinitingnan niya, no? Okay, so if we can identify the bin width here, dito makikita natin yung mga temperature na to, okay? Yung mga nasa below, yung mga low temperature, yung mga 10 and above, yan, medyo mabababa sila, no? So ang mga frequent, guys, yung mga andi dito sa range na to. So this should be around 60 plus something. So itong mga ranges na to, siya yung mga frequent kasi marami yung counts nila. Yung mga konti lang, itong mga lower at saka yung mga higher na to. No? So that's how you answer yung mga frequent at saka infrequent. Okay? Of course, we can ask R to generate yung distribution na to. No? But let's do that later on na. No? What's important is that we use the histogram here to determine ano ba yung ranges na medyo marami yung maraming frequent na data. Okay. Thank you, Kale. Okay. And then ano yung mga ranges ng temperature na marami at saka ano yung mga ranges ng temperature na konti lang. Okay. All right, so let's move on. Okay, sabi natin, nag-automatic message si na using bins is equal to 13, no? So that's the default. And it can be, we can change that, no? We can change that. Okay, let's improve on the histogram a bit. What happens, guys, if we add a layer to our histogram, color is equal to white? Okay, by the way, guys, pwedeng British spelling din yan, color, or pwedeng COL lang, no? Pwede rin ganyan lang. So, mababasa pa rin ni Aryan. So, what happens with this code, guys? Okay, yes, okay. Yan, okay. Now, take note, the color is not the color of the fill of the bars, no? Hindi siya yung yung separation siya. So yung color dito yung separation. So which is now clearer, guys? Yung histogram na to or yung kanina na walang color yung mga borders niya. Yes, okay, correct. I agree with you, no? Yes, yung second. No, kasi mas kita natin yung histogram natin. So adding in the histogram, adding the color of the border will help, no? Okay. Tapos, ito naman, ano to? Yung color ng fill is called fill. So it's not the color, no? So kung ganito, same x-axis, okay? Same plot, geom histogram, same border, but the fill is still blue. Okay, yan. Okay, so you can of course choose different colors. thickness of the border around the bars. Okay, so there's a question here, pwede bang i-adjust? Yes, pwede. Pwede i-adjust yan. Mag-add lang tayo ng panibagong layer as to the width of the histogram. Okay? We'll go into details of that later on pag nag-ano na tayo, nag-advance na tayo kasi it's more layering no? Magla-layer tayo, dadagdagan natin layering. But those questions are very valid. Thank you so much for those questions. I appreciate guys those questions kasi talagang ibig sabihin na yung interest nyo andi dito. Yeah. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you so much. Okay, but guarantee yan, pupuntahan natin yan guys and then we're going to look at more details, no? Greater details of the layering. Kasi ando dun guys yung yung pag-enhance, andun yung pagdadagdag ng mga layers dun sa sa plot natin. Ngayon, tatlo pa lang yung tinitingnan natin, di ba? Ito pa lang. Mamaya magfa-facet tayo, makikita nyo that's another added layer, makikita natin yung aabot pa naman tayo doon. Okay. So thank you for those questions. Those are good questions. Then we can adjust the bins, guys. No? Kasi yung bins natin kanina, 30 lang. What if we add 40? No? So i-run natin tong 40. Okay. So you see, mas dumami yung 40 na tong bins na to. They're now 40. Okay. So what does the changing of the bins from 30 to 40 tell us about the distribution? Yung distribution halos wala namang masyadong change, halos pareho pa rin. Compared to 30, nadagdagan lang yung bins natin, pero it's almost the same. Okay, the general look of the of our distribution, slight changes lang. I agree with you, Kale. Sabi ni Kale, slight changes lang. No? Okay, very slight changes. Yung wala pa rin masyado mga tails, no? Ganun pa rin. Nadagdagan lang yung bins natin. It tells us also that the concentration of the data is really on the middle part, no? Okay, so and then let's continue. How about this? Let's try to answer some of the questions. Symmetric ba siya? Yes, quite symmetric pa rin, no? Kasi makikita natin yung pagiging symmetric niya through the mean and the median and also dun sa tails, no? Wala naman siya masyadong tails. Wala naman masyadong skewness. What would you guess is the center? So paano natin mag-guess yung center, guys? Dito. It will be around this, di ba? In fact, sa median and sa mean, ano yung natin? Ano yung lumabas, guys, sa median and sa mean? Ito. 55. So that will be the center. So that will be around here. Yun yung center ng data natin. Maybe around this one. Okay. And let's continue. Spread out greatly from the center. Is this data spread out greatly from the center? What's your answer to that? Spread out greatly from the center ba siya? Kasi kung ito yung center, guys, what do you think? Is the data spread out from the center? The best way to answer that, guys, is to look at the IQR, yung interquartile range. Okay. Paano natin masasolve yung IQR, guys? Anyone? Ano yung code natin doon? Okay, pero yung quick summary, guys. Yes, that's correct. Q3 minus Q1. Pero yung computation mismo, paano natin makukuha yun? Ano yung code natin doon? Q3 minus Q1. Oo, pero yung okay, mag-run natin. What code, guys, will give us the IQR? Okay? Pwede rin sa psych, no? Pero, actually guys, andito na. No? Ginawa na natin kanina. Ito, diba? The summary. Okay? Kasi dito makikita na natin yung IQR. What's your IQR here? You're correct, no? Ang formula dyan is yung ano, yung quartile 3 minus quartile 1, which is ito yung quartile 3, di ba? Control C minus ay sorry 39.92. Type ko na lang 39.92. Okay, so this is the spread, no? Yung 50% of our data, yung spread niya is within 30 degrees, no? So from 55, parang bibilang tayo ng 15 at saka 15. 15 to the left, 15 to the right. Okay? Get that, guys? Kasi ang tinatanong sa atin yung spread from the center, eh. Ang center natin, we know, is around 55, yung ano natin, yung median, no? Tapos yung IQR natin is 30. Ibig sabihin, quartile 3 minus quartile 1, so that's 30. So from the center, no, mag-aano ka ng 50 at saka 50. 15 at saka 15. So 50 minus 15, that's 35. Okay, yan. Correct. 30.06. Okay. Pwede rin natin, correct. Kyle, maganda Kyle kung ilalagay mo sa lahat, no? Wag yung, Kyle, could you rewrite what you chatted para makita ng lahat? Kale pala, Kale, sorry. Kale. That's correct kasi, no? So okay. So ito yung chinat ni Kale, no? Okay, we can of course compute for the IQR itself, no? Ayan, okay, inano ni Kale, no? Yung IQR, yung weather temperature. So it will compute for the interquartile range. Okay? That's IQR. So if you run that, copy ko. IQR. Oops. Dali. Ay, sorry. Nag-error siya kasi may missing value. Kailangan, dali, ano natin ipapasok natin si NA dot ano. Dot, we need to IQR ni natin let me see. Kasi may ano siya meron siyang NA.RM. Let's check this, no? Error pa rin. Kasi may ano siya, may NA siya. IQR ng should be before this. So nag-error siya dito kasi yung weather natin, yung temperature natin may ano may NA. So kailangan matanggal muna natin yung NA dito bago tayo mag-IQR. So it has to be here. Hindi pa pwede dito sa before Kasi pag before, mali siya, no? So dapat matatanggal muna natin yung NA.RM. Okay. Ayan, sa dulo. Okay, sa dulo siya. Hindi siya before, no? Tama. Okay, so this is correct. Kindly check guys yung sinulat dito ni Kale. So it's IQR, weather, temperature, and then we have to put this condition, NA.RM is equal to true. Para matanggal yung remove. I was thinking of putting it here. Okay, tatanggalin niya muna yung yung NA i-remove niya dito sa temperature. Okay, and then kukunin yung IQR, but that's but that's wrong, no? So ang tamang syntax is the one written here by Kale. Okay, thank you, Kale. So it's IQR, weather temperature, and then comma, NA.RM is equal to 2. Okay, could you kindly try this, guys? Could you kindly run this? Okay, so we get 30.06. Okay, good, good. Kale, thank you so much. Thank you so much for suggesting that, and then also being able to discover how to insert the NA.RM is equal to 2 there. Okay, good, good. Thank you. I enjoy this, guys. I enjoy your cooperation. I enjoy your questions. Okay, I'm happy with that kasi kahit na hindi automatically ko masasagot yung question because it might take me some more time to look into it. But the questions are very good because it generates more interest in us, and then mas natututo tayo, no? Okay, very good, very good. I'm happy with this. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, let's go back here, guys. Tingnan natin yung ito binawasan natin bin width, ginawa lang natin 10, and then yung frame, yung border color white. Okay, so ito mas konti yung no? Mas konti yung bin. So we just wanted to see how this will look like if you have fewer bins like 10, yung isa naman many bins like 40. Okay, we go here, guys. Another layering, facets, no? This is very interesting and this is very powerful. Kasi ang dami natin makikita sa data kung with the use of this facet. Okay, yung facet, guys, ginagamit natin yan kapag ini-split natin yung data natin in order to visualize it using the values of another variable. Okay, so let me explain this. So here, ang gagamitin natin dito, si weather pa rin, tapos imamap pa rin natin si temperature. Okay. But take note, guys, si temperature, punta tayo kay weather. Diba? Ito si temperature. Now, yung data natin, this is one whole year of data in 2013, and then may mga months tayo, no? Now, it would be interesting to determine how does temperature change on a monthly basis kaya. No? And you can do that by doing the faceting. So again, yung faceting, ang ginagawa natin, you're trying to explore a variable and you'd like to see how they differ among the values of another variable. So interest natin dito is to take a look at temperature, and then we'd like to see how does temperature differ on a monthly basis. Kasi may month tayo eh. So this is the code for that, no? Siguro gawin natin ulit 10 to. Gawin natin 10. No? And then, lagyan natin ng border para mas kita natin. And then we add this layer, plus facet underscore wrap. And then you have to put the tilde and then the month. Okay, so let's run this. Okay, what happened, guys? Ano nangyari dun sa plot natin? Okay, thank you. It showed all histograms throughout the month. Correct. Per month, okay? Per month. So naging group per month. So what do you think, guys? Is this an important plot also? If we're interested, for example, to know the variation of the temperature by month. Sa tingin nyo, importante yung plot na yan? Yeah, okay. I agree with you guys. No, thank you. Yes, I believe that they're important. No? Okay, then here, pwede rin naman natin ano yung facet. Kasi ito, 3 rows, no? 3 rows here. Ilang rows yung lumabas sa inyo, guys? Ilang rows yung lumabas sa inyo sa plot nyo? 3 din. Okay. But we can change the number of rows. 3. Default yata niya 3, ano? 3. Okay. I think we're we're all the same. So we can change the number of rows here. Gawin natin, kunyari, n row is equal to, sabihin natin 4. So same code, guys. Binago lang natin yung ano yung number of rows natin. Let's run this. So naging 4 rows siya, no? 4 rows. Yan. Okay, experiment nyo nga, guys. 12. What happens if we make it 12? Hindi na nyo na kaya. Let's try to see this kung kakayanin dito sa console. Ito yung kaya naman yan. Let's see. Sa console pwede actually. No? Ito. But we will have to, kasi kaya gustong 12 rows, guys, kasi gusto ko makita yung side by side vertically ng mga months. No? Okay, sa console nagpwede siya, no? Kasi maganda yung naka ganyan. Let's see, natin kung mabago natin yung ano. Okay. Anyway, sige, experiment na lang natin to, no? Maybe it's best to explore this outside of this class. Pero gusto ko lang kasi, guys, pag ganito kasi, pag side by side siya, makikita natin yung variation. Okay, kita natin na si this is si July, no? Si July ito. July tsaka August, sila yung pinaka maiinit na months, no? Yung mga minimum nila, their minimums are yung minimum sila bandang dito sa 60, no? And their max si July ang maximum niya dito, bordering dun sa 100, no? While si January siya yung pinakamaliliit na minimum, and then si December din, maliit din yung December and November. So sila yung mga coldest months. Okay, so si April, si May, sila yung medyo nasa gitna, no? April, May, and then this one also, October. Yung pinakamaiinit si July at saka si August. Okay, kita nyo, guys? Can you see? I'm sure there's a way to improve this, okay. So hindi ko pa na-explore kasi kung paano ko this is the first time I did this. Naisip ko lang yung side by side dun sa 12. But I'm sure there is something that we can do with this code in order to make it smaller. Okay, sige, that's something that maybe you can help me also discover. Okay, any questions so far, guys? Bilis ang oras. Any questions so far? Okay, good. All right. So facet, guys, no? Facet, pag may gusto tayong i-plot, in this case, pinaplot natin yung histogram ni temperature, tapos gusto natin siya mas separate by means of by means of months. Okay? Obviously we cannot use by year, no? By year kasi isang year lang naman, and impractical naman kung by origin kasi how can temperature change kung nasa isang place lang naman sila, no? They're just in New York City, so no use going into that. I'm looking at other ways by which we can facet. Wala na, month, yun ang ginawa na. Days, may say ba yan, guys? So lahat ng 1, lahat ng 2, lahat ng 3. Okay, so ganun ba pag first day of the month, medyo may pattern yung temperature, second day of the month, parang wala naman, di ba? You agree with me, guys? Is it useful to facet by day? But just for experiment, tingnan natin, guys. But I don't see the point of faceting by day. Okay, let's run another code. Ito maganda sa R, guys, kasi pwede kang mag-experiment, pwede kang mag-check, no? Gawin natin, so 30 days, gawin natin rows, gawin natin 5 rows. 5 rows and then day. So what will happen now is magkakaroon ng 31 facets to. 15 and 30. Thank you, Jasmine, for that. So, asan yung ginawa natin? Yan, guys. So, ito, no? Yan. So, every first of the month, every second of the month, third of the month, fourth of the month. Okay. Ibig sabihin ba nito, every 8th of the month, parang mataas yung temperature. Oh? So, what do you think, guys? Logical ba to? Or is there really a pattern na every 8th of the month, medyo mataas yung so January 8, February 8. Comment nga, may sense ba yon? Wala, I agree with you, no? Wala naman. Wala naman sigurong, unless may study nagsasabi na every 8th of the month tends to be to have higher temperature. Okay, so tinignan natin, ito yung ginagawa ng facet, no? That's what facet does. Okay, so okay, so what are the other questions here? Okay, yung faceted. How does a facet plot help us? Okay, nasagutan natin yan. What do the numbers 1 to 12 correspond to in the plot? Ano to, guys? Yung sa facet natin kanina. These are the months, correct, no? And itong 25, 50, 75, those are the months, yung 1 to 12, tapos yung 25, 50, 75, yun yung temperature, no? For which types of data sets would faceted plots not work well? Okay. Saan kaya, guys, hindi mag-work well yung Thank you, Kale. Saan hindi mag-work well yung faceted, guys? Kapag it would not work well with pag continuous variables. Okay, kasi pag continuous variables, paano yun if a facet? Di ba? Sa dami ng continuous variables, experiment lang natin, tingnan nyo and see how this will look very ridiculous. Pili tayo, guys, ano pwede natin i-facet dito ng continuous variable? Ano gusto nyo? humidity, di ba? Tingnan yung humidity guys, ha? Iba-iba yan, di ba? Iba-iba. Siguro may konting ito, 62.21, siguro may konting magkakapareho. Pero, does it make sense to facet this? Nag-chat ba? Sige. I-experiment natin to guys. Humid ba yan? Humid ba yung ano? Humid being variable. Humid. Okay. So let's see what happens, guys. Tanggalin na natin n rows para bahala na si R mag-default. No? Run natin to. Okay, this might take long kasi tagal kasi ang daming ano yan eh. Ang daming continuous variable niyan. Ilan ba yung ano natin? 26,000. Okay, so baka malamang tumamaya pa to guys mag-ano. Pero you get the point? You get the point guys? So you facet only in particular factors, no? Mas maganda i-facet yun. Not even characters but more so on factors. Nag-run pa siya. Okay? So leaving that guys, for next kasi time na. Oh yeah, correct. Sabi ni Kyle dito, for large number of facets, it would not work well. Okay, kanina nga 'di ba dun sa days yung 1 to 30. Although may na-notice tayo na parang parang yung sa 8 parang nagsisimula siya sa parang nagka-pattern doon na yung on the 8th every 8 parang mataas yung temperature niya. Well, of course, parang lang yun yung random occurrence lang yun. Nagkataon lang siya, no? Yung month to month, tama, sabi ni Kyle, magkakaroon tayo ng you might observe their seasonal changes or seasonal changes in the weather. But yung day, okay, it's still running guys, oh. Tagal. Anyway, so we won't wait for that. Now, next meeting, okay, remember 5NG tayo, no? We'll look at scatter plots, we looked at line graphs, we looked at itong histogram. Now, next meeting, sinend ko na yung file na to guys. We're going to finish the two other name graphs, yung box plot at saka yung bar plots. Okay. Itong bar plots. So, pakitingnan na lang to guys for next next meeting. And then may note ako dito about pie charts. Okay. Why we don't use oftentimes pie charts. Okay, so are there any questions, guys? Okay, thank you guys. Salamat. I had fun too, no? I enjoyed the class. Okay, with that, guys, we end our discussion today.